Nigerian rapper Tochukwu Ojogwu, popularly known as Obi-Odumodublvck, has revealed that he rejected a substantial financial offer ahead of the 2023 presidential elections to campaign against Labour Party candidate Peter Obi. The artist made this revelation while responding to critics who argued that he was wrong to expect Peter Obi to promote his album. Defending his stance, Odumodublvck insisted that his request was justified, emphasizing the personal risks he took in supporting the former Anambra State governor. On his X handle, he wrote, Ask Abbas, I was offered money I had never seen to campaign against Peter Obi, but I turned it down. Telling him to promote my album is not too much to ask, as I am not the one to seek favors. I sacrificed my life for this man, he emphasized. This seems like a story that we're oftentimes used to, when there's always a situation of political rivalry and all of that, or when there's an issue of upcoming campaign. At the time of the last year's presidential, or the last year's election, that was conducted before the presidential election, we had the issue of cash scarcity at the time, and reasons best known to them why there was actually that issue of cash scarcity. And Odumodublvck, this issue has actually raised eyebrows on one out of many that has come to speak that he was offered, certain huge amounts of money in order to not support Peter Obi in that instance. I want to get your thoughts on this, please.
Well, it's the normal political strategy.
You do not think that he's trying to get attention from this?
Well, something must have triggered him to speak. The critics have come up and all that. It's a normal thing for opposition parties to want to whittle down wherever you think your opponent or your rival would get support. You go about, see how to lobby, bribe, pay heavily for that, but that's a crime in itself. Bribery is a crime. So what the artist is talking about now, it wasn't reported, wasn't officially incidented to the police to call for an investigation. It means that it's neither here nor there at the moment.
Okay.
Otherwise, if I were to be offered the bribe and I have my evidence, you launch a report. If that is not, you are not an accomplice, you launch a report and say this person had attempted to bribe me, or this is the amount he gave me, but I am not in for it. Have it as an evidence. Prosecute him for bribing. So it didn't happen, and by now we are already just getting to hear those stories. It is one of those old stories that would always come along the political line, where you hear, I think a few days ago, the former chief of staff to the Rivers State governor, Edison Ihe, had said on channels during an interview with Shell that he was offered 5 billion naira to raise an impeachment move against Sunai Fubara, but by Nyesowike, and that he has his evidence. But if the time comes, he would present the evidence. This is one of such stories. This is one of such, could be likened to one of such. And so the Nigerian people need to, if we want to be true to ourselves, we don't need to wait when there is maybe a backlash, then we now come up and say, this is what they told me and what that. You should come up when it was right for you to take an action. If you are not going to, you don't just reject an offer and then keep calm, and tomorrow you now come back to begin to talk about it. If you aren't doing anything about it, then let it slide.
Okay. I'm not going to support Peter Obi in this instance. Let's look at it from a different angle. That at some point, because of the whole campaign at the time of the gubernatorial election period, we saw the massive that were in favor of Obi. Do you think the opposition party were afraid at the point that he was going to get elected because of the whole massive turn-up for him, because we had Nigerians in diaspora coming down to vote just to make sure, because everyone at the time were, according to the statements, that they were tired of the situation of the country. So everyone wanted to see change, to see something different. Do you think that could be one of the reasons? Probably the opposition party saw that he was going to get the win from the people, that was why this actual action was taken.
There's no gainsaying that the Nigerian people wanted Peter Obi. Mr. President mentioned in his address to Nigerians that he knew that majority didn't vote him, but that we should allow it. It has happened, and he has won and been sworn in. So he is hitting the ground running and subsidy gone. These are some of the quotes he made upon assumption of office. Mr. President told us he is aware that Nigerians did not vote him in their numbers, and many persons were not happy that he has emerged. And so it's on record that the opposition party never wanted Peter Obi to emerge, but the Nigerian people did. A lot of persons came out and voted for Peter Obi. And so if one of these stories is coming out, it's one of the effort, like I said, that was put together, one of the strategies among many other strategies that were put together to ensure that Peter Obi does not or didn't win. However, who am I to speak against what the Supreme Court has affirmed? The Nigerian people, including myself, I voted for Peter Obi. It wasn't about whether it was a party issue or not a party issue. It wasn't about party. I've said it on air. I've said it on national TV. I've even said it in this studio in one of my outings here as a guest analyst. I've said it. The Nigerian people voted. But unfortunately, what we ordered for and what we got was different. And that's what we're seeing today. Yes.
Okay. Let's ask. Let me know. In this instance, does it mean that democracy has lost its place in the country due to this statement from the president that you just quoted? And has democracy lost its place? The rule of law not having a hold in the country as it stands?
The rule of law and democracy is merely theoretical in Nigeria. There is no practicability about it. Here, anything goes, provided you have the judges and the lawyers to speak in your favor, interpret and analyze the law to suit whatever action their preferred and paymaster had perpetrated or is into. When we say we are in democracy, the will of the people ought to be manifested.
True.
But here, reverse is the case. You see a situation where the people who are wielding power use the power against the citizens and justify it by court pronouncement. And you see black being called white and is backed by a court pronouncement. A certain court gives certain judgment in the morning, another court in the evening of coordinate jurisdiction give another judgment. And the next time somebody who is in position tells you there are two judgments and we will act on this one, you act on the one that favors you. You see, Federal High Court Abuja delivers a judgment, Federal High Court Port Harcourt delivers another judgment, court of coordinate jurisdiction. And the judiciary throws the entire Nigerian into confusion.
Sure.
And before you know it, the matter gets to the appeal, and from there to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court begins sometime. They begin to give you judgments that are very unimaginable. But who are we to question what the Supreme Court has said? It has become a law. And sometimes, in fact, we've been in this country where judgments were made. For instance, in the case of Celestine Omeya versus Rotimi Amechi, and the same Supreme Court told Nigerians, and it's on record, that such a judgment should not be cited anywhere or quoted in law anymore after that particular judgment. And Rotimi Amechi was sworn in. Celestine Omeya was kicked out of government by reason of that judgment. And we cannot cite that judgment anymore. We cannot quote, we can't refer to that judgment anywhere in law again. So why did that judgment come in the first place? In Nigeria, you're talking about democracy. Things are going in such a manner to the extent that somehow, you know, unimaginable things are happening right before us. I don't want to go into certain issues right now, not within the scope of our discussion. But democracy is merely theoretical in Nigeria rather than being practical.